in this support learning session. So at this point, we, of course, a protocol, we begin by calling someone, a very important personality in the industry who will deliver the opening remarks for this session. And I'm sure most of you will know her, but let me give the honor of introducing her properly, although she's already very prominent to you, I'm sure. So our guest to open the session is a lady who leads the talent attraction and development strategy of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines, IBPAP, including industry awareness, career advocacy, academic linkages, upskilling and reskilling, and workforce development to support the continued growth and competitiveness of the Philippine IT BPM sector. This lady has 20 years of industry experience with leadership roles in the areas of learning and development, client services, and operational excellence. And she is Ms. Frankie Antolin, Executive Director for Talent Attraction and Development, IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines. Welcome, Frankie.
Thanks very much, Cherry. Appreciate the kind words and for inviting IBPAP to this event. It's always a pleasure to see just how closely all of our industry associations are able to collaborate with one another. So let me welcome formally everybody to the fourth virtual learning session on the latest trends in talent management and retention strategies in the 21st century. Thank you all very much for being here this afternoon. As you know, talent really is at the core of our success as an industry. And so as a sector, it's very critical for us to keep unlocking the different opportunities that we have in terms of attracting, developing, building, and some will say creating talent. So we've been hearing about the talent war. It's raging across different sectors, across different geographies. And so we know that the talent conversation will remain a critical area of focus in ensuring that we remain competitive and that we flourish as a sector. So this year, we are at IBPAP, we're going through an exercise called the Roadmap to 2028. And this will serve as a blueprint for our industry's key priorities. And one of them certainly is going to be talent, as well as several enabling conditions to ensure that we continue to be competitive and we are able to sustain our growth within the sector. The launch of the roadmap is actually very timely. It's a pivotal year for the Philippines as well as our sector, the IT BPM sector. Not only are we set to welcome a new administration, but we're also at the start of a new age. So we're starting to reimagine the different ways of working, the different work types. We're starting to rethink our workers, how to optimize our talent. And we're also starting to re-envision the workplace. So it's really the effort of not just IBPAP, but really all the industry associations coming together that can ensure that we remain focused in terms of the priority areas. And not only are we able to determine where we ended as we closed the last 6 years, but we also want to be able to forge a path for the road ahead for the next 6 years. It's my pleasure as well to share with you some of key milestones from our partner association, HIMAP, in terms of ensuring that they continue to support the growth of the healthcare information management sector, expanding partnership with DTI, PTICs, and chambers in Europe and Australia this 2022, really ensuring that they can continue to highlight the Philippines as a destination of choice for healthcare information management services. And at the same time, the HIMAP is undergoing a talent mapping research project in partnership with the DICT for 2022. And we're very happy that this is underway, a personal aspiration of mine to ensure that the partner industry associations are able to model these different regional benchmarks in building talent and ensure that we are able to bring to life our unified talent framework within the industry. There's also a development of an aggregator website in partnership with DICT, where HIMAP aims to establish a one-stop shop online facility for members, partners, and relevant stakeholders. And of course, there is the HIMSCon coming up in November 9 to 11, 2022. And this is the annual flagship event of the sector. So wanted to just acknowledge and greet the HIMAP Membership Committee, the organizer of the 4th learning session that's headed by Ms. Judy Wisenhunt, our HIMAP Board of Trustees, members, association partners, and government partners, as well as our session guest speaker, panelist, and moderator. Really, this is a testament to just how strongly we want to build the community, because we know that there are very challenging and exciting times ahead. And we really are not going to be able to do this if we don't work very closely together. So once again, thank you for joining today's virtual learning session. Thank you, HIMAP, for inviting IBPAP to be here, and very excited to hear from the rest of the speakers this afternoon. Back to you, Cherry. I think you're on mute.
Cherry, you're on
Yeah.
mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Frankie. As I was just saying, we are more than honored to have IBPAP doing the opening remarks for this session. And just as always, you give very enlightening opening remarks. Thank you again, Frankie, for your time. And right now, I'd like to move on to introducing our very special moderator to run the entire show this afternoon. So before I do that, I'd like to first read through what, well, this man doesn't need any further introduction, I know, but I'd like to just mention all the achievements and the portfolios and his capabilities in the industry. So as the regional leader of Conduent Asia Pacific, he is responsible for running all facets of the business in the Philippines, Malaysia, and India. He has over 20 years of executive management track record and senior management experience from multinational organizations have led him to become a sought-after BPO industry thought leader in the region. He has worked on both captive and outsourced business structures, wherein he managed delivery service for Fortune 100 companies with a headcount ranging from 3,000 to 25,000 full-time employees. Prior to joining Conduent, he was the Philippine site delivery leader for the Finance, Accounting, and Procurement Services Group of IBM Philippines. He has had a long and successful career spanning over 16 years at IBM and Genpact, holding several domestic and international leadership positions for operations, client services, quality management, transition, training, and practice, among others. He holds a business master's degree from Bangalore University, India. Ladies and gentlemen, HIMAP's Board of Trustee and co-chairperson of Capability Development Committee, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Rishi Pradhan, the Regional Leader and Vice President for Conduent Business Services Philippines. Mr. Rishi.
Cherry, thank you. Thank you for the warm and the long introduction. I guess I need to kind of trim down a lot of things. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be doing the first hosting of the topic on talent management and retention strategies in the 21st century. As you understand, this discussion will largely focus on talent management, not limited just to healthcare, but yes, focus on the healthcare industry. But at the same time, we'll also focus on some of the retention and also how do you go about on the identification of right talent. During the course of the sessions, you'll hear some good insights coming in from our speaker, which I'll introduce very shortly, and then followed by a very illustrious panel of the industry experts to kind of discuss a very relevant and a real-time concern, right, that we have for every participant in our industry. So about me, Jerry did tell you I am part of Conduent. I am the country leader for the Philippines. This topic is also very close to my heart, considering that talent management is something which has always been what every organization looks for. We look for identifying ways in terms of how to implement the talent management and the retention strategies, right? Which is very essential for every organization, sustainable development and taking care of the talented staff that ends up finally servicing all of our healthcare clients and patients. Uh, Having said that, let me take the opportunity to quickly introduce our first speaker. His name is Marvin Victoriano. He's the Chief People Officer for Inspiro. And in his role, Marvin is responsible for the company's HR and quality programs across the Philippines, Australia, United States, and Nicaragua. He has about 20 years of very rich senior leadership experience as an HR professional from various BPOs and contact center companies. And he holds a BA degree in journalism, cum laude, from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. And having said that, Marvin, over to you, and then thank you for taking time to share of your insights.
Thank you, Rishi, and good afternoon to everyone. So allow me, I was asked to talk about talent management and retention strategies today. So allow me to just give a little bit of a background on how Inspiro is actually calling into this challenge, addressing this challenge. So let me give a brief background of what Inspiro is all about. We've been in the BPO space for about 20 years now. And some people may have known us as EPLET Ventus, moved into, we were part of SPA Global, we were rebranded to become SPA CRM, and now we're Inspiro. And all throughout those 20 years, amidst all those many changes, there are some truths about the organization that has remained solid. And I think those are things that have really laid a foundation for us to remain agile and for us to remain thriving amidst the dynamic changes that the BPO industry always faces. We pride ourselves on the fact that we have a lot of clients from different verticals. Our portfolio is very varied. We have clients from the retail space, telecommunications, even healthcare. And we operate largely in the Philippines, out of Metro Manila. We also have operations in Dumaguete and Iloilo. But we also operate in Nicaragua, in the United States, and we're continuously looking for other geographies to expand in. So it's important for me to kind of like share that because, we've been pretty much thriving. And when the pandemic hit, like most of the other organizations, that kind of really shook us. And no one really, I think, was prepared for the impact that this global phenomenon had created. But happy that 2 years later, we're kind of like settling down, and we're now seeing that a lot of the future of work is becoming clearer and clearer. And as I did some research, read some articles from Forbes and from Gartner and other sources, there seems to be some trends that are not just unique to the BPO space, but also across different industries. So allow me to kind of like pick up some of the highlights, because these are the trends that we in Inspiro have taken into consideration as we move towards the future with regard to our talent management strategies. So the first slide, please. So the first slide, thank you. So the first trend that we notice is, the future of work has been, is, and will continue to be people-centric. I think amidst all of the trends that we're hearing from the IT industry, there's a lot of new systems and tools, artificial intelligence, robotics, and all of that. At the very core of work will remain to be people-centric. And we need to understand that, we need to embrace that. And we need to understand that when we move forward in this environment, people engagement and understanding and prioritizing their well-being is very, very important. So we need to know who our people are. We need to know and that goes beyond just the typical demographics. We need to understand them as a workforce and as individuals, especially now wherein, at least for Inspiro, there's really a huge mix of different profiles and of our employees. They come from different ages, different backgrounds. And so we need to kind of like really have a good sense of what makes them tick, what makes them stay, what motivates them. And we need to also understand that the future of work means the company acknowledges their individual requirements and is actually looking after their entire well-being. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that is a significant trend that we're seeing. So when we talk about talent management strategies, we need to understand that these are not just individuals who are there to be productive. You know, they are part of a workforce, yes, but they also want to be recognized as individuals with their own sets of requirements, with their own sets of values, and you know, they have their own set of concerns. And so more and more people are attracted, and people remain with companies who recognize that and do something about it. So the one size fits all solutions, whether it is in compensation, whether it is the type of coaching, or whether it is, you know, in terms of training, those are not as strong as, you know, as tailor fitting those initiatives, especially in this day and age. The next trend that we see is that hybrid work is here to stay, right? Again, a lot of our companies were actually we had it in our roadmap in terms of hybrid work, but the pandemic kind of like accelerated that and fast-tracked everything. And I know it was quite chaotic for a lot of us, not understanding really how work from home does and what the impact is. But again, 2 years into it, I think we need to really acknowledge and accept the fact that hybrid work is here to stay. And hybrid work is not just an or, whether you're working on site or working from home. Hybrid work is actually flexible work arrangements. Hybrid work means, again, going back to the first point, understanding the well-being of your employees, why they would necessarily have why they would gravitate towards particular work models, understanding those, and trying to really create an environment wherein they can work effectively in the work model that you know, is offered to them. So flexible work arrangements, it just really forces us to rethink the processes that we have. When we talk about hybrid work, we needed to, you know, we initially wanted to just be able to establish work from home, be able to establish or keep the work on site afloat. But then again, as the months progressed, we understood that there are certain things that we need to consider when one employee or certain employees belong to a particular work model. We need to understand that, and we need to have certain tweaks in our processes on how to monitor their productivity, how to communicate with them, when to communicate with them, and all of that. And understanding as well that with each work model comes its own set of anxieties, own sets of issues, and therefore, going back to the first note, the first trend, when we say that the future of work includes hybrid work, it's not just a work model. It's the entire. It forces us to kind of like reevaluate the way we engage people and retain people, and how do we support that? What kind of infrastructures do we need to put in place so that they can still feel connected even if they're not working on site, or that they feel protected if they are being asked to work on site, and all of these other things that were not really considered before, but are now things that matter to the employees when they try to apply for a company, or when they're deciding whether to stay or not. The third trend that we saw is that you know, we need to invest in a digital ready workplace. Um, there's a lot of investment happening right now with systems, digital transformation initiatives, tools that we purchase, but there's also a need to couple these hot skills with the right competencies. You know, artificial intelligence, robotics, and other digital transformation initiatives are meant to make efficiencies, to increase efficiencies. But because the future of work is still people centric, the challenge now is how do we make or upskill people? How do we attract the people who have not just the right skill, but also the right attitude and competencies so that when the work process is modified with the introduction of certain digitalization and automation, their value still increases actually. So digital ready workforce means understanding the competencies that would make an employee successful with the introduction of all of these systems and tools, helping those who are struggling, whether it is through coaching, whether it is through competency building or actual skills training, and really preparing them. There's a lot of communications, a lot of anxiety, a lot of misinformation going around with regard to automation. People sometimes feel that machines will take over their jobs, but we need to really be able to hold their hand, make them understand that machines are here to make their jobs easier and more efficient, and that there's an opportunity for them to actually reinvent themselves and become more enabled by all of these systems. And that takes a lot. Again, that is not something that was happening in massive scale before the pandemic, but now we're seeing that that's a very real trend. The next trend that we saw also that, we started with the pandemic, is that the role of HR really has evolved. Before HR was simply a processor, and then we became a business enabler, and now we're actually a business partner. The mandate that I actually gave to my team is, we need to be able to address the needs of our clients. And our clients are not just the employees, but we need to understand that the clients for HR would also include our vendors, our clients, their customers. So the role of HR is so critical right now because it's supposed to create a platform, an environment on which the employees can be more productive and can thrive. And at the same time, we can make the necessary, we can lead the organization to be better placed within the market. So we need to understand that the stakeholders go beyond just the employees, the internal stakeholders, but they're also the clients and their customers. And what do they want? What do they need? And so we go back to our HR drawing board and say, okay, so this is what the clients are looking for. How do we attract the right talent that would meet their requirements? How do we develop internally the competencies and the skills of our incumbents? And so that again is an extremely important development and is definitely part of the future of work. There also needs to be quite an investment on HR's development, the HR practitioner's development, as well as the tools that HR uses. We are now subjected to a lot of data. So the HR practitioner should be comfortable in understanding all of those data points and making the right correlations and analyses and making the right recommendations. So it's not just about historical trends, or it's not just about what worked before. Now we are faced with really culling information, finding out what are the necessary pieces of information that is out there that are available so that we can make solid plans for our employees. And the last one which is actually going to be the major springboard for my presentation, is that the employee value propositions should deliver a more human deal. EVPs should match the employee expectations and the needs. And looking at all of these trends, it obviously means that the company's promise to its employees should be authentic, should really spark their interest uh, and spark their commitments. And the EVPs now should really be a holistic approach to talent management. On to the next slide, we see that employee engagement, we all know this, employee engagement is important because the employee experience, when it is a good experience, it leads to a good customer experience. These are intrinsically linked, and a highly engaged workforce really provides the right customer experience because their engagement is infectious, their commitment is there, their commitment to learning, they're willing to, they see themselves, and rightfully so, they see themselves as a stakeholder of the organization. So once you have a workforce that understands that their contribution matters, then you have a highly engaged workforce who will do a lot of good things for the company, and that translates to a better customer experience. And this is why, onto the next slide. Next slide, please. This is why HR, as I mentioned before, should create an environment or a platform so that there is a high-performing culture that is in place that really drives the organization forward. Really, HR's role right now is to help put the organization in the map, so to speak. So it's really elevated from keeping our employees happy and just engaged to making the organization something, a place where people want to go to and people want to stay. So the importance of the EVP is something that in Inspiro we feel is really, really important. So onto the next slide, please. We went ahead and we took the opportunity of the pandemic to kind of like reevaluate our EVP. We recognize that there's been so many changes in the landscape. We recognize that there's a lot of disinformation and there's a lot of anxiety going around, a lot of uncertainty. So we wanted to find out who we are and what we wanted to offer our future employees, as well as we wanted to find out why our employees are staying with us. You know, we've been an organization that's been around for about 20 years. I myself have been in the organization for 12 years. I have some peers in this meeting right now. I know that they've been with the company for like 18 years or so. And 99% of our middle management and up were all homegrown. And it's really heartwarming to know that there is a lot of tenure within Inspiro. So we wanted to find out why they're staying with us. What are the things that make us unique and desirable? And we went through a process of tying up with a very hip marketing company. We did a lot of interviews of applicants, a lot of interviews with leaders and our employees. And we came up with our new EVP. There were a lot of learnings, a lot of self-discovery. And it's very interesting because it reinforced the things that we were doing, but it now put it in a particular framework. And we're confident that the solutioning that we are providing are actually going to be successful because it's coming from them. So the first thing that we did was we kind of like asked our employees, of our corporate values, what resonates with you the most? Our corporate values team is more. Team is more stands for trust, excellence, accountability, malasakit, meritocracy, and respect. And there were questions about, in your daily dealings with your supervisors, with your peers, what really, what are the top two corporate values are best exhibited on a daily basis? And we've narrowed it down to malasakit and excellence. They were the ones who identified this. And with that, we got statements and proof points saying that, there are genuine bonds when we hang out during weekends, even when people leave the organization, we remain connected. The leaders are fair, that it's leaders grooming other leaders, and that there's a built-in career path. Those are the top sentiments and statements that we've gathered. And so we've identified those, clustered those together, and we've come up with the 3 pillars of Inspiro. So these are genuine culture of belonging, steward leadership, and career development and growth. So these are the 3 pillars. And when we have those pillars already in the journey of us creating the EVP or reviewing our EVP, we now know that these are the things that our employees look for, and therefore we should create our strategies on talent management and development and anchor these on these pillars. So to exemplify that, to illustrate that, onto the next slide, please. This would be the way that we translated the EVP to some strategic programs that impact the business. And we start off with the genuine culture of belonging. So when people said that there's a genuine culture of belonging in Inspiro, we wanted to really maximize that. So we wanted to make sure that there were engagement activities that we have been doing before that would also work well in the hybrid environment. So some of the staple things in terms of communication, town halls, they remained, but it needed to be in a format wherein it is accessible, whether you're working from home or not. And we needed to make those shifts and stay true to that. We invested in an HR suite during the pandemic. And one of the features of the suite that we had actually had collaboration tools. So because we understand that our employee base are largely Gen Zs and millennials, and they're very tech savvy, it was important for us to have collaboration tools available to them so that they can stay in touch. So these are like messaging tools that are internal to our HR suite, so they can stay connected with their teams. And there are also ways wherein this technology provides a team leader the ability to monitor the performance and monitor how they're doing. We've also engaged with, for a mental health program, we've engaged with a company that had counselors that were available 24/7 via chat. So those kinds of tools are there. They're out there in the market. We've actually gotten them so that the culture of belonging remains very strong. We embrace workforce diversity. We've always had we've always had a very mixed demographic in terms of our employees. And now we're really going out there to celebrate our diversity. Our LGBTQ+ community is definitely part of our programs. Our recruitment processes are of equal employment opportunities. We also have PWDs. We have people of different ages. So it's very important for us to understand the diversity, the diverse workforce that we have, and what each group would like to have in terms of their activities, in terms of addressing their concerns. And so we're very cognizant of that. In fact, one of the strategies that we did was when we launched fairly recently our HMO for dependents, we actually negotiated with the provider that our employees can enroll their dependents, even if they are just lived-in partners, even if they're the same sex. So that kind of program again solidifies the company's desire to be inclusive and to really recognize their particular requirements. On steward leadership, we kind of like introduced concepts in our coaching methodology. So it's coaching beyond metrics now. We've introduced concepts of life coaching into the mix. So we want empathic leaders. We want people to be listening, especially when the pandemic hit. There's a lot of people who really had anxiety, who really had challenges in transitioning to the new environment. So we needed to make sure that our coaches, our team leaders, our managers are equipped. So we have workshops that actually help train them to know the signs and to be able to address certain experiences that their employees or team members might be having. And so that has been very, very helpful because that connects the employees with the leaders, and that's part of steward leadership for us. We also understand that a lot of the changes need to be driven from the top, and so we've reevaluated our executive development program, and we want to make sure that our leaders are confident in terms of leading the challenges or leading the organization to the different changes that we have. On empowered career growth and development, we wanted to make sure that people are appreciated and are rewarded through a pay-for-performance philosophy that we have. We've made use of some technology that's been made available in terms of our rewards mechanism. Again, because these are our Gen Zs and our millennials, they're very used to online shopping. So some of the rewards that we have are actually in partnership with some of these, vendors. We give them shopping credits. They like the idea that you give them a QR code and that they can just redeem something, of a convenience store, and that's their reward for a job well done. So those kinds of reward system, as well as reviewing the way we design the compensation in terms of allowances, in terms of incentives, again, in recognition of the changed requirements now. And it's been pretty great. Technology definitely needed to be introduced in the whole career growth and development journey. So we've beefed up our training simulators, and we've also made sure that these trainings are accessible. What we've noticed is that what works well would be training classes that are, or training modules that are very short and easy accessible, through the mobile phone on their. We want to have prescribed training courses, of course, but we also wanted to leverage on employees wanting to learn on their own. So we've actually partnered with some external providers, and we gave our employees some access to a library of different courses that they can also take on, and that engages them as well, because now they know that they're not just going to wait for some prescriptive training for them. They can actually go on their own and pursue their own development, their own time. And that kind of empowering, that kind of engagement, again, is a very strong talent management strategy. Obviously, digital talent development, we want to infuse digital upskilling with competency building. We want to make people understand that while we're teaching you how to operate something or how to how to acclimatize or adapt to a new system or a tool, we want you to know that there are certain soft skills that are behind there, and we want to be able to also develop those soft skills. And we're a company that's about 14,000 strong. We're pretty large, and we are operating in other geographies, but we also have limited capabilities. There's no shame in partnering with external providers who are experts. So that's exactly what we do. And because of that, that really opened up a lot of doors for us. So instead of developing some of the curriculum for leadership training, for example, we tapped into an external provider. And now that library of courses that I mentioned earlier is made accessible because we have partnered with a vendor that is an expert in all of these leadership development training modules. That's an example wherein we tap into the expertise of other companies. We partnered with them. That helped us really manage expectations and really manage and address the concerns of our employees. To the next slide would be something like a case study. This is how we've actually translated the EVP concept that we have gone through into something that's strategic that impacted the business. So one of the enterprise goals is digital transformation. And when we talk about digital transformation, there's a lot of concepts there. And of course, we've created a special committee around it and wanted to make sure that all the departments are aligned and all of that. But for HR, the way we've addressed that challenge or that call is to develop digital skills through the lens of soft skills. So digital skills, for example, we broke it down. We understand that there is such a thing as data science. We understand that there is the importance of data. We want to make sure that when we create those training programs, that people understand the importance of data in decision making and capability building, that they're able to be upskilled so that they can analyze the data, they can handle the data. They have an appreciation of how the data should be fed into the system. We actually have a tool right now that helps us with big data processing in terms of root cause analysis, and that goes into either Six Sigma projects or that goes into some process improvement initiatives. Again, this is part of the talent development in terms of digital upskilling. Machine learning, it talks about predictive capability, and as I mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence is supposed to increase efficiency. So when we create our training programs, there is that technical part in terms of digital skills, but we want to be able to have people understand that there are corresponding or coupled soft skills, because these skills need to be backed up with the right competencies, such as empathic understanding. So how do we now marry the concept of developing one's ability to understand another person's experience as he is going through mega data, right? And going through some analysis work and creating the necessary solution that would address the problem. So, human behavior and motivation needs to be factored in, as well as, of course, the leadership skills when we talk about talent development now. So our enterprise digital talent development strategy, in very specific steps, we basically built our digital literacy. So obviously, we needed to do some competency gap analyses. We needed to create our development programs to bridge those gaps. We needed to strengthen the digital learning capabilities by maximizing the learning space. That means reviewing the existing systems that we have, and if there are gaps and we needed to already address and we couldn't wait to develop our own systems, then we can partner with external vendors so that that space becomes extremely robust. And so we can already place those digital learning materials that we've created or that we have curated over time into that learning space. So that is how we are supporting the digital transformation. We are understanding the requirements of the positions, as well as understanding how people should react to this, and how we are supporting them by building their digital literacy and providing the right environment for them. So as we wind down, just as a recap, as we prepare for the future of work, there are some takeaways. So the first one is, when you start looking at talent management today, one important takeaway really is to reassess the role of HR in the organization and its capabilities. We should be able to understand that the organizations will remain people-centric, and therefore the role of HR is critical, so that we can keep these people, this workforce, engaged and motivated. And HR should be able to creatively link all of these things to create the strategies that are needed. You need to evolve your EVP to match the employees' needs and expectations. As I mentioned earlier, the well-being of the employees should be marketed by the organization, because that is where people are drawn to. People would like to apply when their personal values align with that of the organization. When they see that me as a single parent, for example, can see that your organization has certain benefits specifically for single parents, or that there is that acknowledgement of what I can offer as a candidate and what the organization is willing to provide as an environment to foster what you, or to cultivate what your skills are, or what skills you bring to the table. Number 3 would be to embrace digital transformation and workplace flexibility. So it's here, it's upon us. So there should be very honest conversations at the leadership level on what that roadmap looks like. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It could be a roadmap 3 years, 5 years down the line, and just make sure that you have your strategies are within the resources that you currently have, right? And you are injecting the digital transformation initiatives along with other realities such as workplace flexibility. You should invest in workforce upskilling, right? Including your HR team, because they are the ones who will need to create those learning modules, those platforms. And then lastly, again, the big thesis statement here is you should invest in employee engagement and well-being, because it's when people are engaged, they are the ones who will drive the business. When they know that they are supported, when what they perceive as threats are actually pacified and are addressed, and they know that they can contribute, they are treated like a stakeholder, then they will actually produce more for you. Your EVP is your commitment to them, and in turn they will be committed to the organization. So as the next slide is a reveal of our EVP at Inspiro, having gone through that entire journey. Inspiro is a community of people whose genuine care and connection inspire everyone to push boundaries that lead to breakthroughs. People are celebrated for their authentic selves, which fosters an atmosphere of trust, respect, and collaboration. Our new employer brand statement is "Inspiration lives here." All right. To kind of nail it down, I believe that there's a short video that we'd like to present to you to talk about our new EVP.
I think there. Sorry, I think there's no sound. Or the
Yeah,
video.
there's
Yeah.
something
Would
wrong
it
with
be?
the.
I'm sorry, Marvin. Would it be possible if we play this after the panel? If that's
Sure,
okay with
no,
you?
not a
Yes.
problem.
All right.
But this is just, I guess this is just to recap, what I was talking about with regard to, how important it is to craft your talent management strategies based on the employee experience. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for spending the afternoon, and wish you all well. Thank you.
Arvind, thank you. Thank you so much. So very, very insightful. Few takeaways that I remember from your discussion is definitely one is in terms of the employee value proposition, which I definitely agree every organization needs to have, because that's what talks about the culture. It also talks about in terms of the way you look at investing in your individuals, looking at them as assets and not really looking at them as purely workers. So things like you mentioned about personalizing, recognizing, and making sure that they're given the right inputs, upskilling, and all of that. So great inputs, I'm sure. A lot of our participants are going to be looking forward to get a copies of your deck. All right, so after the inspiring discussion and inputs coming from Marvin, joining me today, we have a very illustrious panel of industry experts with very rich experience in their respective fields to discuss and give us a little more of their own experiences on how do you really look at managing talent, how do you really look at retention strategies across various organizations, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very helpful for everybody who's decided to kind of take some time to join us for this webinar. Before I do that, let me take the honor of going back and introducing our guest panelists. To start with, I'm just file, yeah. To start with, I would like to kind of introduce Rina Rivero. Rina Rivero, she is the Programs Committee Chair and a board member for the Philippine Society of Talent Development. She's a seasoned HR and a OD consultant with about 16 years in various industries. And at the same time, she's been instrumental in helping organizations, both in the private and the public sectors, focused on talent development, human resource initiatives, and business and managed interventions. She's also a certified human resource professional, and she was the Philippine Society for Talent Development's Committee Chair in 2021, and currently holds the seat on the member of the Board of Trustees in 2022. And she's also the consultant training consultant for JB Managed Services and Consulting. Please welcome Rina as one of the guest panelists. Thank you, Rina, for joining us. Moving on, let me also take the privilege to go back and introduce another very experienced and a seasoned panelist, Melvin D. Miranda. He's the National President and the Governor of the Philippines Nurses Association. Melvin is currently the College of Nursing Dean of Manila Central University and was elected as a National President of the Philippines Nurses Association. In January of 2022, during the Philippines Nurses Association, that is when he was brought in as the Board of Governors meeting. Melvin was also appointed in the year of the centennial celebration of the Philippine Nurses Association with the theme inspired by Caring Legacy Transformed Lead. He's also the incumbent PNA NCR Zone 2 Board Governor, currently serving his second term. And his passion, his expertise, skills, and essence made him the Centennial President. He's also elected as the Board Trustee of the Philippines Federation of Professional Association. Melvin, welcome, and thank you for taking time to share some of your insights. And last but not the least, let me welcome Tunichi Achura Parek. She's the Board Director for CCAP, one of the member associations under IBPAP. And currently is the Vice President of Concentrics. She's a mom, a traveler, a businesswoman, and currently the Vice President of Concentrics. She holds a degree in business administration, and her expertise in business process outsourcing since 2002, and she has about a very rich 22 years of experience in different roles of customer service, and managed to successfully work her way up the career ladder, achieving various senior leadership roles in the different companies. And at the same time, she's also the board member of the Contact Center Association of the Philippines, an organization that aims to strengthen the Philippines contact center industry, basically focusing on talent supply, business environment, industry welfare, to just name a few key areas. And as a part of the HR Council leader, she kind of takes a passion for empowering and enhancing the role of HR in businesses to great use. She also takes the lead in talent development and seeks to revolutionize employee experiences and engagement. And she's also leading the CCAP's Data Privacy and Security Council. So I just wanted to kind of take this time to welcome all of the guest panelists, and if you could be in camera, that would really help. All right. So the way we'll kind of take this forward, I know we have about 30 minutes left before we wind up. So why don't we kind of quickly hear back from each of the panelists in terms of sharing some of your insights about the topic for today. So we could start with Marvin, yourself. Governor Melvin, are you on? And Marvin? I don't know if we have Governor Melvin.
Yes. He was here earlier, Mr. Rishi, but apparently he dropped for a while, I think.
Okay. So that's
We're
fine.
chasing.
So since we have heard
Okay.
from Marvin, I think let's give the panel back to the ladies. So Reena, would you mind sharing some of your insights about the topic for today?
Sure. Thank you so much, Rishi, for the wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here as a panelist in this month's learning session with HIMAP. So again, my name is Rina Rivero, and just to give my insights on the presentation of Marvin, I am really pleased that, you know, the BPO industry and most organizations are taking their people strategy, their talent management strategy, and employee value propositions to the next level. And I love how Inspiro formulated their strategy around the three pillars of genuine culture of belonging, steward leadership, empowered career growth and development, basically anchored on malasakit and excellence. And I'd like to link Inspiro's talent management strategy to the self-determination theory, which suggests that people are become self-determined and motivated when their needs for competence, connection, and autonomy are fulfilled, which I think is a good basis for any people talent management or people strategy that organizations design within their company. So self-determination theory allows people to feel that they have control over their choices and lives. So autonomy, which means that people are in full control of their own behaviors and their goals, which was shown by Inspiro through their empowered career growth and the steward leadership that they have, and competence, people needing to gain mastery of tasks and learn different skills, basically building their competencies as they grow with the organization as well. That's done by Inspiro through their empowered career growth and the connection or relatedness, right? So people need to, even if we are in the hybrid or virtual work setup, and even in the face-to-face work setup, people need to experience a sense of belonging and attachment. We are social beings, right? So we need to have that connection, relatedness, and belongingness. So that's done by Inspiro through their genuine culture of belonging. And Marvin mentioned about digital transformation. So with digital transformation also comes digital literacy, right? So at this time and age, digital literacy should really form part of the core competencies of people in any technology driven industry. So I believe there's no industry anymore that does not use technology. So I think that's something that organizations can consider including in their core competencies, not just in the technical or functional competencies of people in their organization.
Thank you, Reena. Great insights, and I'm guessing we're going to be here a lot more on the same topics from you in a while. Why don't I move over to Tanishi? Tanishi, would you mind sharing some of your insights and your experiences on the same topic?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I loved it when Marvin touched upon, specifically saying that hybrid work is here to stay. And when he also specifically said that the role of HR has evolved, and in their company, in Inspiro, they have focused on investing in a digital ready workforce, because now, the buzzword is digital ready, digital transformation. But sometimes companies and even ourselves as leaders, we totally miss out on what digital and transformation really mean, and that it goes side by side together. We think digital, we think technology, we think that, when we buy technology, that's it, we have become digital ready, or we have digitally transformed. Then we completely forget that, transformation is what really adds value, right? That's when we think our employees, it's an employees market now. So you think about what truly adds value when we transform according to how they expect us to interact with them. It's an employee experience from the time they see our ad. It's an employee experience from the time their friend tells them, why don't you join Inspiro, or why don't you join Conduent or Concentrics, right? As soon as they hear that and do something about it, it becomes the beginning of an employee experience. So, for example, and thank you for the examples that you shared, Marvin, but specifically, for example, from what I have seen so far, how we and Marvin and I worked very closely together during that entire shift during the pandemic. That was the busiest time of the HR Council. Actually, I thought I retired during that period, but I became the busiest during that period. And it was because we were trying to get all the members of the industry associations to get together so that we don't need to unnecessarily, repeat the same mistakes. So we wanted to share best practices. And what we did was we quickly help each other transform to a platform where we could start hiring virtually, where we had to even go as far as figuring out how do we get our, we went from manually driving the equipment to our employees, right? Now, for example, in Concentrics, that has become a completely big IT hub. So we have created processes and sub-processes so that we don't need to take a lead time to send those equipment to them. They don't need to go all the way to the office to get it. It becomes a very efficient experience for them. And so when I think about how that role of HR, talent development and talent attraction has evolved, it blows my mind, because I look at the market now and it's so different from how we have been operating 2.5 years ago. The virtual recruiting and how we do it, the level of engagement. Gone are the days actually when I was maybe a team leader, a manager, when we would create boards so that we could show how everyone else is faring against each other. Now, you are totally behind if you're not gamified, right? So, and right, you're right, Marvin. There's no shame in saying that, sometimes we partner with other vendors because they are the experts. But sometimes because of, the changing needs of our employees in Concentrics, we decided that, we would create our own. And even that, fascinates me, and how, in different kinds of companies, when we come together, we say the same things. And it really, we are at a time where, again, it is an employee's market. So we need to keep our eyes open, our ears active, actively hearing and reacting to what these workforce are saying, right? Marvin talked about, how inspiration lives here. For us, it has become your best anywhere. We want to promote our workforce being able to identify where that anywhere is for them. It's not even need. It's not just preference, right? It's where they have to be. So I think I'm super excited to be here with you guys today, and good afternoon. Sorry, I forgot to say good afternoon to everyone, but I was just so excited to talk. But I'm really excited to hear also from everybody questions, suggestions on how we can be a more dynamic industry in terms of catering to this, ever-changing market.
No, absolutely, Tanisha. I think some of the things that you touched upon, whether you're talking about a hybrid model, whether you're talking about bringing the office to where the employees are, wherever possible, allowing them the flexibility to work, I think that goes a long way. And the other thing I liked about what you said is about the change, right? Because we've seen that there are organizations that may or may not have accepted the change because of either the nature of business that they deal with and all that. But this entire pandemic has made us completely rethink our strategies, just from an approach, just about in terms of how we deal with our employees. And like Rena also rightly pointed out, some of the theories, the one that she said about self-determination theory, it also really goes back and personalizes a lot of things in terms of, okay, what is in it for me as an employee, right? And I think from the messages that we've heard through Marvin in his talk earlier, I think Inspira is kind of really living through some of those, and then it's going to be good examples for a lot of our participants and member companies. And then to your point, I think this journey is something that's going to be evolving over time. I don't think we've really been able to pin it down. And I was kind of reading some of the paper that says talent management today has become one of the research areas where people are trying to go back and get answers to a lot of these things, right? Some of the big questions we have saying, okay, what makes people stay? And we've never been able to really come up with that. So I'm sure this topic will always be something very close to my heart, like it is to you guys. All right, so just quickly checking, do we have Governor Melvin back on, or not sure if he was not able to join back in?
Apparently, we don't have him yet. Mr.
All right,
Rishi,
Sherry.
I
So
don't
that's
think
okay. So I will kind of park that question separately for him, because I had a question in mind, which is specifically about the healthcare side of it, considering that he's the president of the Nurses Association. But I'm sure we'll be getting some other opportunity to really talk to him about that. So why don't I start with ladies first? So Tanichi, I know you've held, sorry, very senior leadership positions in various companies, and I'm sure that, and you did kind of re-emphasize some of these. That says that the people and the teams are the most critical ones within the organization, right? So, and you also touched upon the hybrid model. So my question to you is, how's the working from home and hybrid work setup affecting employee engagement and retention? Any insights on any best practices for our attendees?
It is still work in progress for us. We are still continuing to learn. Personally, I'm learning. I have grown over the past 2 years. I've always been in operations, and I used to, many years ago, would never believe that I will allow any one of my operations leaders to work from home. That's a complete no-no for me. So when even someone would ask me, can I work from home? I'm like, really? You're from operations and you think I will let you work from home? So that mindset totally changed. And thank goodness I was on a break. Like I said, I was on a sabbatical for a year, and I was watching how everyone was changing. And I still couldn't believe that it was actually possible until it was actually possible. But that truly has changed. So I still think that there is value in once in a while, again, hybrid, once in a while being able to actually meet in person, see the body movements when you're it's a different experience when you're coaching someone or you're having a meeting like this versus when you're actually having a meeting, you know, in person, because there are relationships being built while you're getting your water, while you're drinking your coffee and all of that. So, but then we also are figuring out a way, and again, it's still a work in progress. But we're figuring out a way how to be more efficient in that context, right? So I think that, you know, because it's still a work in progress for us, you know, making sure that we are able to share best practices is key. And again, it goes back to, we should be focused on really placing the employee well-being at the forefront, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the talent that we need to attract, it's the talent that we need to keep. So it's for me, when you center your initiatives around that, then even if it's, you know, you go through a trial and error phase, it's okay. It's okay. And that's why these kinds of you know, conversations that we're having today is actually something that kept us going during the last 2 years, because we would learn, there would always be, you know, a light bulb moment, even no matter how big or small that could be.
Absolutely, and been a big learning for all organizations, big or small, right? So, all right, I can see Governor Melvin is come back in. So thank you for joining, and I hope your internet connections and all are now stable. So
sir.
why don't I just jump into a question that I had for you, which I'm sure a lot of our member companies and participants would be keen to look at it. So in your current role as the national president and the governor of the Philippine Nurses Association, you were pretty much aware that as part of the healthcare industry, right, we're dealing with a lot of migration of high-performing healthcare professionals, nurses, and workers from different healthcare sectors between countries, and especially with the US or Australia or UK, that market opening up. We just wanted to kind of understand, even from my own understanding, I guess the question that I was ask you was, is it because it's a lack of opportunities within our own country, or is there any other thing that we can do? So can you share some of the insights in terms of what do you think that we can do better to really create and sustain our competitive advantage? And at the end of the day, how do you really make them stay? So that at least we're able to leverage them for a lot of the healthcare work that we have currently in the Philippines.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. As our organization, being the accredited professional organization of nurses, and as a member of the International Council of Nurses, we are really gearing towards the promotion of our advocacy on positive practice environment. And this includes on how our healthcare workers will really attain the satisfaction to really stay in the country. However, there are some challenges that we are facing now, specifically with the discrepancy when it comes to the salary and compensations between the government and the private healthcare facilities. If you can just imagine that in our private sectors, healthcare institutions, our healthcare workers, specifically our nurses, as this is according to the Department of Labor and Employment, that we have ranging of the salaries in some of the regions for 9,000 to 15,000 compared to the government, which is already in the law of the salary grade 15 of 32,205. So with this discrepancy, there is somehow, as mentioned by the Private Hospital Association, an exodus of our nurses and healthcare workers from private sectors. It's either two mechanisms or directions that they are experiencing. It's either the nurses from private sector is gearing towards to the government healthcare institutions, and the other one is really directing their endeavors towards the application for abroad. So it really consider the stability when it comes to the job security as well, because the two factors that really affects the migration of our nurses and they are attracted to the offers of our employers in the first world country, in reality, as of the moment, we cannot really align the salary that are being offered by our neighboring countries. Even Singapore can offer almost 200,000, while here in the Philippines we do have the average of 32,205. So why not we establish primarily on the perspective on how we will align the private sector to the government sector. So probably the number one concern when it comes to this effect is because of the salary and compensation, because of the discrepancy. The number two is with regards to the contractualization. So this is now our problem in the nursing workforce, wherein job security is being considered because, for example, actually with the data according to our Department of Health HRH, in the country as of December 2021, we do have 617,898 nurses in the country, and yet we are saying that we lack shortage. But the demand by the DOH is almost 317,000, so almost half of the government is offering job openings. So where are the half of the 300,000? So probably some of them are in the private sectors, or others are in other fields of work. So with those concerns, I think we really need to establish and have a priority agenda to really have the much attention on these areas. The number one is related to the salary and compensation. The number two is related to the concern with contractualization, which even the private sectors now, premier hospitals, are really now competitive to really attend on how they will really consider the welfare of the nurses. So which some of the private hospitals are doing now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So no, this is really good insights, and I'm sure a lot of our member companies are kind of very keen to hear more from you, and I'm sure at some time in the near future we'll be able to get more opportunities. And some of these concerns that you raise, and I'm sure we are making note of these, because at the end of the day, like everybody did mention, we are very focused on the welfare of our employees, right? And again, whether these are nurses, whether these are healthcare professionals or anything, we definitely would want them to stay in our organizations and make sure that they have a very successful career with us.
And can I add, sir, just a 1 minute? Actually, we are gearing towards advanced practice nursing, wherein it will not just only cover our field of practice confined in a hospital or healthcare facility. So that's why I expanded already the roles of nurses into other areas, even into BPOs. Nurses can participate in this endeavor. So it is just a matter of recognition that nurses can still work on other areas other than hospitals, other than healthcare facilities, because these are opportunities. It is just so happen that here in the Philippines, it is not our nurses are more oriented in hospital setup and in the healthcare facilities. But I think other industries can offer also nurses job opportunities. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. And I, for one, with Condion, we do bring in a lot of nurses, and I'm similarly, a lot of other member companies go back and do that. Thank you, Marvin. So moving on, I know we did hear a good insights coming from Marvin, but Marvin, I just had one quick question for you, right? So after hearing about your insights, especially with regards to redefining the role of HR in the new normal, which is a very relevant topic, because that's where the foundation is. Would you like to share some more about what a member company should be focusing on this journey of change?
I think, wow, it's a tough question. In terms of focus, I'd like to keep things real. I mean, I'm the type of HR practitioner that would like to be creative around basically what you need to kind of like know first would be what's the general direction of your leadership.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't just be someone who's advocating for something and the rest of the argument, because this kind of digital transformation is multi-departmental. When I say that HR, HR's role is very important, it's because it has that direct link with the people and their interests and what makes them tick, and then linking it to what the top management would like to do. So in terms of setting up the stage, I kind of like the way I do it is I really get direction from top. I really kind of like take a look at, what we're capable of, what do we want to do, what are we willing to spend on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go into roll up your sleeves and start, trying out certain strategies. A focus area for in terms of HR development, if that's the question, if I got that correctly, particularly for the HR practitioner, I think there is a need to be more comfortable with managing data. I think a lot of our HR practitioners rely on experience to come up with the solutions that the company is asking from them. But I think there needs to be that discipline of looking at the information, being comfortable with it, being able to slice and dice it to come up with a solid recommendation. Whether that data is employee data, whether that is survey feedback from the employees, whether that's financial data, I think the HR practitioner nowadays needs to kind of like evolve into being comfortable with that and being comfortable with looking at the information and making those correlations and not just say, well, in the past, this is how we did it, or some book said that this is the way we're going to do it. It needs to be, because we're in the process of tailor fitting, right? The one size fits all solution doesn't really work anymore. So you need to be able to understand what the data is saying. And so one big discipline that the HR practitioner needs to develop really is to make sure that the data is complete and accurate and is in a particular format that, when you feed into the tool, it's recognizable and you can really get a lot of insights from it. I think from what I know, a lot of the HR professionals still are, hung up with their Excel spreadsheets and their trackers, and so we want to be able to kind of like make sure that they also embrace the new technologies that are available.
Thank you, Marvin. So I know we did get a lot of questions coming in from our participants and member companies. I don't want to kind of shadow that out. So why don't I just take up some of these questions that are very relevant to the current situation, and then try to cover some of these. So one of the questions that came up was, what is the advancement in talent management that we can use to attract more skilled employees? Rina, would you mind kind of sharing your insights on that, considering your background on some of the talent development work that your org helps with?
Yeah, thank you, Rishi. With the advancement in talent development strategies, I think there's most of the advancements are in technology, right? But I think with these advancements, we have to still take a step back and consider the overall talent management journey. Right. So, and I believe that with that overall talent management journey, everything starts at the hiring, acquisition, or how we get the talents to onboard with our organization. So before we get to the advancement in terms of technology, let's take a look at the basics, the process that we have, the overall employee experience that we're trying to create. So like I said, everything starts with acquisition. So we have to be able to get it right at the very beginning. So as an organization, what is it that we really want? What is it that we really need from our talents, right? So we have to have our job description, our competencies in place, our talent profiles in place before we even get to the advancement or digitalization, right? So the way we assess our talents, I know with the advancement in relation to how we recruit talents, right? So there's other forms of assessment, how we really target the right skills and competencies that we want. So I'd say get it right from the beginning in terms of hiring, acquiring talent. That's where you can probably invest in the advancement in technology and digital tools to acquire, assess talents in the organization. And I believe leaders, the hiring managers, HR people must also be equipped with the competencies and skills that they need at the very beginning of an employee's journey.
Thank you, Rina, for that.
Rishi, can I add a
Yes.
little bit more to that? And I love that, Rina, thank you for that. But I would like to just add, because Marvin and I were talking about this earlier, that I think one of the things that we need to get right to is that as an industry, so there's HIMAP, there's CCAP, there's IBPAP, right? As an industry, I think all our members should really get together and really work on, as we were discussing earlier, we are actually cannibalizing our own workforce by getting hired only experienced people. But that really doesn't make sense, because when we keep saying that we're only hiring for experienced people, that means I'll have to get from Marvin's, I have to get from Conduent's, from Rishi's. So, and then it goes around. They really don't build that expertise, and we're not helping this workforce by doing that. What we should really be doing, and this is, I think, what we need to do as an association or industry, is that we look at it upstream and downstream, right? And the downstream is, Melvin, where are these 670,000 nurses? Because we definitely need them in BPO. And even when we talk about, even the graduates, senior high graduates who are not even college graduates yet, but they could be employable. And then if they graduate and they're still waiting for whatever dream they want to take, they want to go somewhere else, they want to do it here, we can also build a platform so that we could start enhancing whatever skill they got in that higher education. And I don't think we're doing enough to push for that. And so, I used to have an account where, we would only hire nurses, even just graduates, and they don't really understand the impact of what they do, because it was for a pharma account and it was for reporting adverse events. And we need, medically trained professionals so that they could note down the adverse events. But they don't understand, that any mistake that could happen could impact a life of an individual and totally shatter that pharma, right? And so I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in making sure that there's so much pride in this kind of industry, in the healthcare business, in the healthcare workers, so much so that we don't need to go out. And yes, sometimes maybe we do, right? But at least there is enough here locally that they can start with. And I think we need to do a little bit more. And Sarah, I feel so passionately about it, because I talk to them in the airport, in the airplane. I talk to them about the industry, and I wonder, like, why didn't they not find the jobs that they were looking for? And they didn't have to leave their families for that, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's it. I just wanted to add that.
No, I think you made a very valid point to the question. And again, Governor Melvin, it's just about making your association and the rest of the nurses that we have. There's a lot of opportunities that we have, right? And like Tonichi rightly pointed out, and I'm sure organization would be reaching out to you, be reaching out to a lot of other medical institutions, allied courses, and all of the other curriculums, which really helps us go back and look at it. And again, just because it's a BPO does not mean that just about picking up the phone and talking about it, right? There's a lot of complicated work we do around clinical research, work that happens around adverse event reporting. There's a lot of these things that are a lot of value add. All right, so great discussions. I'm just a little watchful of the time. And I know we've just about used up all the time that is allocated, and wanted to respect the time of the other participants. So I just wanted to kind of firstly take this time to thank everyone for taking time to share your insights. And definitely thank you, Marvin, for the insightful speak, and the panelists for your inputs in terms of your experiences. And especially with regards to the journey that is there on talent retention. This is something that I'm sure everybody will understand, that it's an ongoing process. It's not something that will be over soon. Like I said, there's a lot of research that will continue to happen for us to really look at how we can really look at improving on how we retain our talent across all organizations. I also wanted to kind of extend the same thank you to the organizers for helping organize such a very interesting topic, which I wish we could have gone a little more. But again, keeping in time the time, I didn't want to kind of offend the others. And yeah, a very special thank you to Marvin Inspiro for sponsoring this event. And then again, thank you from HIMAP for that. I would just like to leave everyone with one quote from one of the industry leaders that I follow a lot. And I'm sure when I share the name, she commands a lot of respect in the industry. This is from Indra Nooni, who's the ex-CEO of PepsiCo. And what she actually said was, today's marketplace is incredibly competitive in every industry market. The difference between success and failure is talent, period. That's what she said. So it's a very profound statement that goes back and really looks at in terms of how we really need to relook at our talent. And a lot of and all the panelists today shared their insights about what we need to do. Some of the inputs that came from Marvin as far as going back and looking at the employee value proposition. Governor Melvin, I'm sure, will be reaching out to you again for more insights in terms of what can we do to partner with your association, because the industry really needs a lot. And like Tonichi said, right, where are the 670,000 nurses that is there that really should find a home back in the Philippines itself rather than them traveling out. So having said that, I just wanted to kind of again thank you, speakers, panelists, and thank you for all the participants for attending today, and see you for the next event. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
everyone.
Back over to
Thank
you.
you.
Jerry, are we taking a picture?
Yes.
I was about to
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say also, yes, we are. And for our dear guests, so
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, everyone. Thank you, Rishi.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Rina, Tonichi, and Melvin. Thank you very much for joining.
yes, Miss Judy. So we're taking a photo now for our guest. Okay, at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. One more time.
One more time.
1, 2, 3, smile. There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
And
Good
thank
afternoon.
you, Frankie of IBPAP, and Tonichi of SICAP.
Thank you. Thank you,
very
everyone.
much to everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Julie.
Have a
Thanks.
great
Bye.
day.
Thank you, Miss Judy. Thank you.
Bye.
Let's actually play the
everyone.
video. I'm sure there are
Yes, we'll be playing the video in Spiro. Thank you. Thank you, Governor Melvin again. Tonichi and
Here for
Rina.
sponsoring today. Thank you for sponsoring.
At Inspiro, your potential is recognized and nurtured. Our leaders see potential and help you unleash it.
At Inspiro, authentic connections happen. We can live out our passions and make meaningful contributions to our community.
At Inspiro, there are opportunities to grow your career as long as you perform and keep your focus.
We believe in authenticity, respect, and trust.
We celebrate the success of our people, all 14,000 of them.
Embracing our DNA of community and culture with inspirational leaders and passionate people is what makes Inspiro unique in the BPO industry.
This
This
is Inspiro,
where belonging, leadership, and empowerment are put front and center for our people.
From Manila
To Dumaguete,
to Iloilo,
To Nicaragua,
to the United States,
Inspiration
lives here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Julie.
Thank you, Rishi,
Bye.
for a great
Miss Judy,
memory.
thank you also again. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rishi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Governor Melvin.
Thank you.
Governor Melvin. Hope you say yes to us next time.
Yes,
Yeah.
We should
that's
actually
definite.
have a
With good
phone session.
internet connection. With stable internet connection. Thank you.
Yeah, we should definitely have more sessions with Governor Melvin.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
yes,
So that
sorry.
to introduce this industry to our nurses.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, Rishi. Happy Friday to you.
Bye.
From me and Kathy. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Bye bye.
Yeah, Kathy's here.
Thank you,
Kathy, show
sir.
yourself. Show yourself.
Bye.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't see you guys on
she,
camera.
Yeah, yeah, she doesn't. Kathy, oh, your camera, please, Kathy. Sorry, she. Yeah, here. Sorry, she. Yeah, here. We're in the office. Yes, there.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure we'll see you guys
She's wearing pink.
soon. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. We're so happy. Thank you for moderating our board of trustees, Mr. Rishi Pradhan. Thank you so much. Happy
Bye.
Friday. Yeah, happy
Happy
weekend,
Friday.
sir. Bye. Thank you. I can see Marian from the ICT. Marian, I saw you. Thank you. Miko and the rest, Janelle. Happy Friday.